It's 8 o'clock. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Beyond Medicine, where we are going to meet three doctors who have published non-medical books. First and foremost is Dr. K. Sridhar, whose book, Forgotten Freedom Fighters, the Unsung Heroes of Tamil Nadu. He'll be talking about his journey, about how he started writing that book and what are the problems he faced and how he got finally published. Dr. Sridhar is a renowned craniofacial and reconstructive surgeon, and he's received too many awards to be counted, so I will not go into those details. Sir has several interests other than plastic surgery. Of course, apart from this book, he's also interested in religion, in philosophy, and every time he's always learning something new. So when he was younger, he used to trek. So now he's taken up art and painting. So that is the secret of Sir's youth and agility. Joining us will be Peeyush Maniambath, who's recently published his second book, and his third book is also on the cards. The first one was called Placard Holder in the Past, and the new one is called Doc White's Legacy, which is kind of a sequel, but you could read it separately as well. Peeyush is anesthetist by training, but now he's semi-retired and does only pain management. He used to be a very good football player, but now he's because of he's a man of leisure, so he's into golf now. Last but not the least, we have Dr.Abhijit, who's again an anesthetist by training, but right now is almost completely dedicating himself to palliative care, especially affordable palliative care in rural areas where it's needed most. He's published books. The first one was called Wading Through Quicksand. Then he regularly writes blogs, which was put together as the Lost Foods of India. And the latest book will be published is Does the Moon Exist?, about which we'll be talking later. Last but not the least, none of the books would see the light of the day if we didn't have publishers to publish it. So we have Mr.A.S. Diwakar joining us, who's the proprietor of CompuPrint, graphic design and print house in Chennai. He pioneered the field of desktop publishing and was one of the first to start the print-on-demand service. Creative Workshop is the publishing arm of CompuPrint, which assists authors in having their works published, especially first-time authors, and selling through online portals like Amazon and Flipkart. Dr. Diwakar is also a multifaceted personality. He has served as an international referee in table tennis and has umpired the table tennis matches in World Championships, Asian Junior Championships, and other national and international events. He's also the co-convener of the Chennai chapter of Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage called Intact. Thank you, Mr. Diwakar, and thank you, Dr. Sridhar, for putting us in touch with Mr. Diwakar. Over to you, Radhakrishna.
Yeah, thank you, Vidya. It's again a pleasure to be talking to authors, which I've done a couple of times before. And Vidya, when I mentioned the publishers, young publisher, she thought the publisher's picture was a couple of years old, but that isn't true. He looks easily the youngest. And the good thing is that I know all the three authors, two of them personally well, and actually one of them, Dr. Sridhar, is my teacher. I know him for so many years, and as Vidya rightly put it, is a man of multiple talents. Of course, Abhijit Dham I met recently, about a week or less than that ago, and he's also a very special person. Peeyush, of course, I've seen him from a distance. I haven't met for many years, but then Peeyush is much a flamboyant person those days, and much liked gentleman, and his personality always I thought fitted into the surgeon's interior exterior, but he chosen to be at the head end. And see the first two authors, Dr. Sridhar and Dr. Abhijit, are very spiritual. they have a spiritual bent of mind, and I'm sure Piyush also, if it's not spiritual, it is a spirit part of it is very much there. I'm sure he enjoys the spirit. Nice talking to all of you, but then I'll address you in alphabetical order and seniority. It'll be Abhijit to start with, and then Dr. Peeyush and Dr. Sridhar. Each question to be answered that way. I always felt that to write books, or for that matter, to write anything legible, interesting, and readable, one should have a very good basis, strong basis of English education. So I'll start with Abhijit, and you just say about your education. Was it you were in a good convent school, which made you, or what sort of education? All three of you answer in your own words. Abhijit.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I come from very humble backgrounds. In fact, my childhood was spent in Avadi, that's near Chennai. And I spent a good about 6 years of my life out there. So basic education, I spent my whole life studying in Kendra Vidyalaya, central schools. And Dr.
That's good.
Vidya has raised up her hand. So I
But
come from very humble backgrounds,
like
and
Kendriya Vidyalaya is good English and good Hindi. Abhijit, why do you say it's very humble?
it's very humble because it's a government-run organization. I mean,
Right.
central schools, no fancy schools for me. So that's how I call it humble. And all my so-called English speaking skills, I would absolutely attribute it to my schooling in Kendra Vidyalayas, and I'm thankful to the Almighty for that.
Piyush, you're very flamboyant in your language too. What is your schooling like?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
See, I studied in Delhi. My father was working in Delhi, and the whole schooling was in Delhi before I joined JIPMAR. And a couple of years later, after that, you people joined. So my
Is
whole
was it a convent school or a
Yes,
public
I
school like
studied
KB?
actually, it can't be more conventish. I studied in Frank Antony Public School. It's a school run by Anglo Indians, and it's there in Calcutta and Bangalore. And that time when I started, it was a smallish school, but now I believe it's a big school with people still wear suits, the teachers wear suits and things like that. So I finished my complete schooling in one school and then came down to JIPMAR. But otherwise, that is why I am more fluent in Hindi rather than Malayalam. As
Right.
many in JIPMAR know, I I can speak Malayalam, but I'm not a fluent Malayalam speaker, and my Hindi is as good as it can be.
You can read Malayalam, right?
No, I can't.
Oh.
I can't read Tamil also.
So you're British, more or less.
Yes, sort of, But one of those guys who hardly wore a tie in England in my years in
Yeah,
England.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I was just going to add, that he spent significant of time in the.
Yes, I did, and I would like to point it out to Abhijit that I did my anesthesia training quite a bit, and I did work in a hospice in London, and it was a very nice, pleasant time. So I have some experience in uh, hospice and palliative care, but which was when I came back 20 years ago or 24 years ago, it was sort of frowned upon by my management and said, "Don't try all this nonsense. You stick to anesthesia." So that's how it was. But things have changed now. Things have completely changed. So that's my background.
Yeah, does hospice experience has any bearing on your writing?
Yes, Definitely. In my second book, in fact, there's lots of it. Lots
That's
of it, and
interesting.
I've tried to in it's a fiction book, but I've tried to inculcate a lot of these palliative care facts as through a layman, so that a layman can understand. So the sufferer sees what is happening, and the sufferer is a doctor also. So it is there. Lots of parts of it is there.
We'll come to it. Dr. Sridhar, what is your education like, sir?
Yeah, I think schools, to start with, I think it was in 50s. Hardly we had any English medium schools. And I studied in a Tamil medium school up to 12th or 11th, you can call it as SSLC. So I passed out in 64, my school final. So up to that, it was only Tamil medium. So it was actually the PUC is the first time when I started studying in English. Otherwise, English was just a subject. That too started only from the 6th standard. Until then, no English. And I studied in Manipal, my MBBS. I think that made a remarkable change in my attitude of life as well as my language. And I won't say that I'm good at English, but possibly I have various interests. When I tried to put them all together, I think the book came. I never thought of publishing a book to start with. Mine was just totally writing some blogs on these freedom fighters, which I thought that many of us, my own colleagues, did not know most of the names. So I used to write a list of names whom I knew and then tried to check with them, do you know who this guy is? And absolutely none of them know anything about them. So that's what made me think in those lines and started writing a blog to start with.
So,
So my
your
background has got nothing to do except possibly a lot of freedom fighters were there at that time because I was born just immediately after independence. So it was just a year and a half after independence. So I think the stories used to keep going in my family. And in my family, they were all advocates. So their English was more of a Renan Martin type of grammar. So it's entirely different from what it is now.
now you are good in Tamil too. You write in Tamil, do you?
Yeah, Tamil I write. Tamil I can speak well. I was a speaker in Tamil. I do write little poems in Tamil, but not in English as such. English was mostly the articles and more of professional articles and professional talks were in English. I've written many chapters in English, but all are professional. Non-professional in English, this is the first attempt.
Abhijit, you also good in yet another language or just English? Do you read, write?
Yeah, my mother tongue is Bengali, but
Okay.
then I can only speak Bengali, but I can't read or write, unfortunately,
So you
because
belong to Peeyush's Jan.
because I hardly spent much time in Bengal except during my
No, but
MBBS year.
don't you feel bad that you do not know a language? It's got so much
Yeah,
literature, so much culture, which will influence your writing so much.
yeah, now that I'm growing old, I do realize what I've missed out on. And I do try to read up translations of literatures like Tagore and all that. I do enjoy Rabindra Sangeet nowadays, and I try to make sense out of it. And yeah, trying to catch up with what I've missed out on.
Yeah. What are your reading habits like? Are you a prolific reader? What sort of books you read, which could help you in becoming a writer at some point of time?
I used
You
to
love
read
books.
a lot, fiction mainly, and but since the last almost a decade, I have restricted myself mainly to philosophy and religion, trying to understand and make sense out of our own religion, like exploration of the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras, and other Buddhist texts also, and trying to make a sense of meaning out of all of that, and basically then trying to link how all this ancient knowledge could basically be translated back into our current modern practice of living and medical practice as well, basically as a means of sustaining hope. So that is my whole aim, to help the dying, give them give them something to cling on to, that the sense of hope, which our ancient literature used to talk about a lot. That is where I get my whole this thing from.
But the essence of your life and your literature is pure epics, pure material from the Vedas. You're not like Devdutt Patnaik who will modernize, take ideas from there, and then you make stories out of them. You just represent what is written in the Vedas straight, and that influences your writing.
Yeah, I try to correlate our everyday life, our everyday struggles, and correlate our sufferings with what the Vedas also teaches us. And I help people to normalize in a sense. So I want to make them understand that it is okay. It's okay. It's okay to it's okay to even fail in an exam, as long as you have tried to pass. It is not all about the heroes who succeed. It is all about the people who have tried also. It is like the story of Ganesha and Kartikeya, where Ganesha, he just circled Shiva and Parvati, and he was the winner. But nobody looked at Kartikeya. Kartikeya, he did such a lot of, he went through such a lot of trouble, of hardships, roaming around the whole world, through whole universe, before coming back. So Kartikeya's struggle, of course, he wasn't all that brilliant as Ganesha was, but then you cannot just ignore his struggle. So there are so many people like Kartikeya out there in the world who struggle a lot, but who can't make it to the first row. That doesn't mean that they are useless. So that is where I want to restore a sense of meaning to the suffering which these people undergo, and correlate it with religion, with the Vedas also, so that it helps to normalize the whole thing, sort of.
Yes, what are your reading habits? See, as compared to the other two authors today, you write fiction. They write spirituality, they write anthology. What made you, or what are your reading habits like? What sort of subjects do you read? Are you an avid reader?
See, I am an avid reader, but I have some strange likings which I have been reading for a long time. One of them is natural history. Second is the parts of the land where I live in now, so that I know the people around. Although I can't read or write, but I can speak a lot all these languages, Malayalam, Tamil, etc. And when I speak, people don't know that actually I don't know how to write. They just think that this fellow is speaking in a funny way or something like that. So that has done a lot of thing, and lot of philosophical book in the sense like uh, old classics. Like one of my books which actually influenced my second book was Albert Camus' Happy Death. It's a book on dying happily. So that way I have lot, but now I stick to I have unusual interests. Like I'm quite an expert in railways, very long old railway lines. I look up in the net, and my wife always says that when the railway line is not very far from my house, And when that you hear the whistle, I put the phone and try to see which train was that, which is going at 4 o'clock, and how late is it. To not many people like that in the house. So I do a lot of reading like that, but it's all disparate, and all of you know that my interest in sport has a big role in, and I have amalgamated all these things into my books, my knowledge, and of these things, but they are pure fiction. There's nothing. There are parts which are unusual, paranormal type of things, but basically it's all fiction.
Wonderful. Sir Sridhar, sir, what are your reading habits and what are your
Yeah.
choices?
I think it has
You
changed quite a bit. I think the earlier time I used to read a lot of novels at the younger age, up to about
Tamil
MBBS
novels, you
level,
mean?
both English as well as Tamil. And then slowly it just changed into a lot of history-based novels, like your Kalki's Ponniyin Selvan, like type of thing, and Chandilians, etc., which is fiction but based on history. And then I drifted again back onto English novels, olden days, more of detective and other type of thing. Even Perry Mason, I have read every bit of Perry Mason, Stanley Gardner's and Agatha Christie, every known book I have read of them those days. Slowly, I think, drifted back again into professional reading. And then now, I think I am more or less like Abhijit. I think more going into spiritual and historical aspect of our culture, our country, etc. And I'm an avid Google searcher. I keep searching. Every day, I think I spend at least about 3-4 hours on Google. So now, of course, chat has come, chat
What do
GPT
you
has come.
search for? What do you search for? What is a
This is
common
like,
search topic?
chain reaction. I think it is a nuclear reaction, I think. I think I start something. Supposing you, Abhijit, has told me today about Veda, then possibly I may just look at something on Upanishads or something, then that will give me a connection or a reference to something else. And I keep chasing it until I finish reading most of the connections. You understand what I mean? Supposing there is a word which comes there or a reference to a rishi or something about whom I have never heard of, then I click on that highlighted and go to that rishi and then read. So that way, I think more of a chain reaction. It's a nuclear reaction, I call it myself. I think once triggers off, and then you just keep reading it for a week together, one from one to the other to the other. So the same thing happened to me in when I write the book also, when I wrote the blogs. Somebody about whom I knew I start, and then it ends up saying that she met so and so. Then that so and so I have never heard of. Then you click on that so and so, and then you get immersed in that history. See, that's how it became mine. So I think my reading habits now, more of Kindle, more of Google, little bit on refinement on chat, GPT. And then I think I keep updated about the technology, even though I must call myself ancient uh, because I belong to the 60 generation of MBBS people. I joined in 66, completed in 72. So you must call among this group an ancient guy, but I still keep track of the developments. So I continue technically I search in a different way. So olden days, it was just raw books. Then I used to like scientific fictions and also astronomy. I was very much interested in physics and astronomy in school. Mathematics, physics, astronomy was my first love. So I started reading those connected books I used to read. In Coimbatore, I studied where they used to have a lot of small publications on Science Digest, etc., mainly by the PhD group and other GD Naidu group. So they used to have a lot of such small things, pamphlets like books, like, 20 pages, 30 pages, every week it used to come, magazines and journals. Those are the things which actually made me read more. But now I read only this. I don't read paperbacks much.
Wonderful. The Abhijit, coming back to you, you've been a busy clinician and you've chosen your area of specialty and you've done well and become known and you sort of started liking it. Where did you get this idea of writing a book? When and how did it come?
Uh, uh, I do believe in, prarabdha karmas. So nothing happens by chance, you see. It's all embedded within you, and somehow the Grand Master has it all planned out. When I was in class five, I remember I used to study in Air Force Central School in Polta, that's in West Bengal. That's an Air Force station. And that is when I made my first comic book. I used to actually sketch also quite well, and I created my first comic book at that point of time. And by the time I was in class seven, I wrote my first drama and I play acted in it as well. Although I got a good scolding from the headmistress at that time because the characters were not very up to the mark, so called. And so whatever happens, sort of happens for a reason, and uh, maybe those things I really can't explain how it all came up, and then it sort of subsided for some time before it again gradually crept up. Uh, um, I never took any special course for writing or anything of that sort. I just, when I sit down to write, there are no fixed plans either. And I just start writing, and the flow keeps on coming as if somebody else
And then
is
is it your
guiding it.
wife or your friend or somebody who said that he should write a book?
Uh,
Who forced you?
Nothing of that sort. It's just that I keep on writing, and at some point of time, I feel that maybe I should compile it. A few of my friends sometimes they suggest that why don't you compile it into a book or something of that sort. But uh, uh, it just
It just
happens.
happened. It
It,
just
it
happened.
just it just happened.
Piyush, what is your inspiration? Like, how did you get into writing a book?
That also, as Abhijit said, it was never planned or programmed that I should do it. But I did when I came to this part, which is an alien part for me. I never lived here. I found that this place is very unique in certain ways, and then certain ideas, etc., started formulating in my head, which I jotted down, and slowly the whole story came up to me because it's a story in a pass. That is the that's where all the people live. It's a pass between the hinterland to the coast. So the whole story is in that area. And both my books are actually based on that area. But I have not named where it is taking place. But as Dr. Sridhar already mentioned, one part of it is already mentioned where it is taking place. And because if you take the Western Ghats, there are few passes through them, very few. And if you have to go to say Kerala, you have to go through one of these passes. There will be one pass here, and then there will be far away. There will be another pass. You can trek through in between, but it's a slightly dangerous elephant country and can be
Right,
very very slippery and things like that.
right,
So this whole story is about a pass, and pass has its own uniqueness regarding a lot of things, weather, and usually there's a main road which connects both sides, and there is also usually a river which goes from one side to the other side through the pass. So it the whole story and the people are thronged in this area. You won't find many people living in this part away from the pass. So we have a lot of congregation of
So now
different
you
people.
formulated the entire story, and then you thought you should write it, make it into a book.
See, I started, I say I wrote a chapter, then went on like that. I never made the whole book, but I used to note down many stories, many parts of the stories in various theaters and things like that.
Right.
So scribbles, just scribbles. And then it formulated my head, the first one. And the second one is also, as Vidya said, it is, there are common characters, but it is not a sequel. So
Not
you
a
can
sequel.
read it separately, but it will be really helpful for the people to read it one after the other.
Or not, right. Dr. Sridhar sir, what about you? Why did you think of writing a book or compiling the whole thing into a book? Is somebody behind it, or it's your own idea?
Yeah, I think I agree with somebody's idea. In the sense, I have been writing blogs. It so happened that the last blog I wrote was in 2022 on July 30th was my last blog. Then somebody called me and then said, this is the year of 75th year of independence. Why don't you compile all this thing and publish it in this August 15th? I had just 15 days to go. Then I was just wondering what to do. I searched for all my publishers. Self-publication is the best, somebody said. I tried that for about 4 or 5 days. I realized that it is something difficult, but by the time I have already loaded my blogs onto that site, that has formatted it in a way. And then somebody in the walk, one of my good friends told me, Dr. Sridhar, you must publish the book, but don't do publication by yourself. Oh, I have hardly left about 2 weeks to go or 3 weeks to go. Then he just put a bomb. Then he said that go and meet Diwakar.
Sir, if
So
I
that's
can
how
stop,
I went and met
I
Diwakar.
can stop you here. I would go to Diwakar because he's been silent all the while. Because, you three authors, I mean, there's a phenomenon these days. The publishers go in search of authors' book in advance. Have you finished off all the work and then you went for the author? But what do publishers believe? How do they think that one should talk to a publisher even before starting a book, or you should complete it and show it, because publishers have their own way of looking at this literature, and they may edit, they may comment, they may correct, or they may give an idea. I want this sort of a book to be written. Diwakar?
Um, in this case, it is always better that the author comes with an idea. In fact, I would even prefer that they write an advance chapter or a couple of chapters and bring it to me so that we can have a look and then see whether it goes in the right way, whether the theme is good or whether the style is good and other things. Then because I generally don't prefer to interfere into the creative freedom of the author, because it's after all the whole idea, the whole it starts germinating from the author. That should be given the freedom. Even when we use an editor, we take very extra care to say that the style is not tampered with, because that style is unique. Otherwise, it becomes the editor's style of writing. No, it shouldn't be like that. So we want to be true to the author's style of writing. At the most, the editor will touch upon the uh, grammar or the person or the tense, and minor tweaks they will do, perhaps to make it more clarity, to improve the clarity. That is what the editors do. That is the job of the editor, to make it more easy. But beyond that, as a publisher, we only see whether it is written in a good way. There are stories, there are any number of themes can be there. The market is so wide that in fact print on demand and online portals have democratized the entire publishing field. For authors, it is now there is enough choice. Earlier, there were gatekeepers; they were not able to publish. The conventional way of publishing was very difficult. You give a script, and it takes about 2 years for them to come back and say, "No, we can't publish it." That's how it was. A lot of that is the experience of a lot of authors. That is when the concept of print on demand came in. Self-publishing, what the only issue is that definitely it needs a third eye to look at the script. We think we have written it clearly, it is we are conveying things, but when a third person reads it, it has to be clear to them. That is where the editor and the publisher come in. That is the role of the editor and publisher to streamline it, put it in a good way. That is where we do that. So self-publishing has really made it very easy for people to come and publish books, especially during COVID. I know a lot of people because we are stuck at home. All of them, in fact, the legendary chronicler of Madras, Mr. S. Muthaiya used to say, everybody has a story to share. Everyone has a story to share. And he used to exhort everyone to write a biography because that is actually a reflection of the social history of those times. If Dr. Sridhar is going to write about his childhood, it is something which the youngsters may not even imagine that has happened.
Sure.
Especially from people coming from Bengal or from Kerala, the Western Ghats, the Palghat Pass or any other Wayanad area, we wouldn't have known unless somebody writes about it.
Right.
It could be a fiction, it could be an anthology, it could be just his own biography. So we should encourage people to write. So there is no restriction that this should be the theme or this will only sell. It is very, very difficult to say what will sell. It is almost impossible to say what will sell. It's like a movie. We can't even say whether it will
If
hit
I
or
can
not.
ask a focus question, do you
Yeah.
think that the author has to speak to you about his idea before starting to write, or he can halfway through bring his transcript to you to get it ratified, or write the entire thing and then see?
I think at least halfway they should come back. Only then they will be clear about what they are, because you start with an idea. It's a one line is what we start with. We don't know how it's one line can be taken into so many different directions. So at least a major portion of it should be written to see how the whole thing is progressing, whether it is coherent, whether it can be ended, the end can be good. So I would encourage them to write majority of the book and then come. It can always be tweaked, but unless the whole idea is there in the author, in my experience, many of the authors, if they're writing fiction or even non-fiction, they have only an idea. It starts with an idea always. Then as things go, our creativity or imagination or the mood on that day also helps you to write. So it is very difficult to say in the first one line that it is good or it is bad. We encourage them to write, then come to us after a major portion is done. That way it is beneficial to the author.
Okay, thank you. Abhijit, what is your style of writing? Do you handwrite or type it out? Do you do it in the morning, evening, and do you do in continuity and then stop for some time? What is your style of writing?
I don't have any fixed style as such. And with the advent of technology, I prefer to type it on my mobile. And it all depends on my mood at that point of time. When I feel like writing, be it any time of the day or night, there have been times when I've got up at 2:30 at night, and I sit up and start typing a blog till it is over. But once I start writing a blog, for example, then I see to it that it is finished in a given amount of time, say 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then I post it. It's like that. As far as books are concerned, they do take time, but again, it depends on my mood and that way.
Peeyush, what is your style?
I also I don't have any style, and as a mainstream theater anesthetist in a very busy hospital, you had to make your time. There's no way you can say I'll start at 6 p.m. and then you will get, say, there's a fetal distress. It never works like that. So I didn't have a style like that, but as Vidya knows, after many years, you're used to getting up at odd times. And that time you write a chapter, and sometimes it is the freshest in your mind early morning. So that way I've written many chapters, and I have finished the book, then only showed it to my publisher or anyone. I never showed anything, because the first experience I showed it to a publisher, they said, you finish the book and come and meet us. I said, where can you meet you? He said, no, you finish. Basically, they were sort of brushing me off. There's no doubt about that. So then I said, let me publish it myself. The second one, I happened to be uh, known to a agent through a schoolmate who was knew with that agent, and through that agent he got me the publisher. That's how it worked. But just you go with just two chapters, they will almost throw it into your face. It's just
Uh,
that's what it's the expression is like that. So I have had.
I would like to add or clarify in that earlier after what Dr. Peeyush says is very true, because they were kind of gatekeepers. They were getting too many manuscripts, so they were not really keen on bringing it out. But what happens is a lot of people start writing, and I have seen that not many are able to complete the book. It takes a lot of discipline to start to complete whatever you have taken. I've seen that. So you come with the two chapters and then you talk to that, then certainly either it is professional commitment or personal commitments or just lack of focus. People just drift off, the idea dies there it is. I have seen too many authors lose track and then go away. That is one of the reasons why the publishers at the time, they were not keen on spending time on somebody who may not even finish it. So that's why they say, you come back with the full script, let us talk. That is one of the reasons.
So, Sridhar sir, what is your style of writing? You write.
Yeah. Mine is, I think, as Abhijit put it, is all moods. But I don't know, people call me quite a active fellow, but I'm actually basically a lazy fellow. So I need to have a target. That's why I fixed myself a target that every Saturday morning, my blog should be ready. Unless that pressure is there on me, I won't. I may drift. As rightly pointed out by Diwakar, we may drift because one book is halfway through for me on the professional front. So what I started doing was that every Saturday morning, it should go, so that people have time to read. Otherwise, they may not read at all. So that was the basic thing I kept myself when I wrote these blogs. That's number one. Number two, I think most of us are passionate teachers. So all of us have one basic quality or bad thing is that we would like to share whatever we know with others. So that is what made me write this blog. So I read so many people and none of them are even highlighted. So I thought that I must have a duty to highlight them. So I started writing the blog. Then some of them, when they forced me to write into this, convert it into a book. A book is entirely different from a blog. Blog is something I feel like writing. I just type it out. I type it out. I don't write manuscripts in the hand. It's just a typing. And that's much easier. If I don't like the sentence, I can just cut it and then paste it elsewhere and then modify it. I don't know whether you remember, one day I called you in the hospital and told you I am already getting fed up with this grammar in one format, and then you put it in another format, it says all these are wrong. So I get into this. Then you suggested me to go to Grammarly. Then I started studying with Grammarly. Then I went, it said everything is perfect for basic, but there are 163 which has to be changed if it is going to be professional. Then you got to go for a paid Grammarly. Then my whole page was full of red. Everywhere there is correction. Mainly the punctuation part of it, I must say. Where the comma comes, where the and comes. And I don't find any semicolons nowadays in the modern literature. Semicolons are gone. Everywhere it is only comma. And there are some places where there are comma and commas. So I got really fed up. Then I was wondering whether I must write UK English, American English. Then there is something which is now coming as Indian English. So whichever way you correct, one is right, the other one is wrong. Then finally I stuck to British English first to start with and changed over to American English later. Because that they say found it easier to get grammar checked rather than going into the British or UK English. That is where I had a help of one of my close friends who is a Intelligence Bureau's Director General of Police. He was a good at punctuations. So I gave him my script to him to punctuate those. Then he gave me with a Ramakrishna Mutt, one of the saints or publishers, who has written a book on punctuations. So he sent me the book. I said, it's too difficult for me to understand that and then punctuate mine. And then he took it on his responsibility, took my chapters and started punctuating them. Then I went back to Diwakar for the remaining. And then I think he will be able to tell you more about it.
Piyush and Abhijit, do you have any issue with this, your language? Did you run Grammarly or did you get a help of an English professor to refine your books?
No, I have never used any gadgets or help that way. The only help that I use is I run a check of the chapter I've written. I give it to my better half. She reads it to make sure that the flow is okay from beginning to end, so that it's not abrupt changes. But not I don't expect her to find the semicolon. And really, as Dr. Sridhar said, if you have a semicolon or a comma, does it really matter if your meaning has come across perfectly? That's what I feel. So it doesn't. I've never used. I don't even know how to use Grammarly or any other things. But I use it to run it. Sometimes my son, sometimes some very close friends. I read this chapter and see, but I don't give the full thing. The full thing only my better half reads it, because I give bits and parts and to check what the response is. But I've never used anything.
I think
Abhijit,
I'd like to add here, I
yes,
fully
sir.
agree with Piyush. I never bothered about all these things, whether it conveys or not. When I wrote the blog, when I came to black and white print, I was a bit worried. That's where the difference between a blog and a book, I thought that there is a line. So that's how I started checking the documents with any one of these tools. And then ultimately I found that they were also not all that good. Possibly, I think I have to give it to an editor. I think Diwakar will be in a better position to explain on
Yeah.
this.
Before going to Devakar, just a minute. Abhijit, what is your you take help of any of this software?
No, I mean, this is of course my personal opinion. I feel that the real passion of a writer would be in his blogs, provided those blogs are finished in one sitting. Because when this is my personal experience, when I sit down to write a blog, I actually pour out my heart into it.
Correct.
And at that point of time, I finish it in one sitting, because if you break up a blog into multiple sittings, the whole beauty is lost. And then once I finish the blog, I just post it. I don't do any spell check or anything, and I don't want any grammatical connections, because it is what my essence, my passion has gone into that writing. And if I modify it in any fashion, then that whole beauty is lost somehow. However, when you're writing a book, that's a totally different game, because then you have to be mindful of your, P's and Q's and all those things. because it will go to editing and so many. So, but even at the end of the day, my passion lies in writing blogs rather than, writing books. Um, of course, this is my personal take on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I
Mr.
agree with him on that totally.
Diwakar, in addition to the spell check and the grammar check, I just have a few more questions for you. How do you decide on what should be the size of the book? What should be, how should it look like? What should be the cover? How do you price it? What all things go in your mind, and how do you make it more marketable?
The size of the book generally depends on, we should really look at the end user. If it is going to be a plain fiction or a light reading or something, a handy standard size is fine. But if it's going to be a coffee table book or a poem or something, we look at something different, not just a standard, because the whole, it should convey the whole concept and theme also. So the size, it is very dynamic. There is no hard and fast rule that I'm going to use only an A5 size or I'm going to use only a B5 size or anything. I have made square if it's going to be a coffee table book. In fact, for a poem book, we have used a square because it came with some illustrations which will fit well in a square format. So we don't start with the preconceived notion. We see the script, we see the whole thing, whatever goes into it, and then decide on the size of the book, the font and everything. It goes according to the subject. If it's going to be very serious, or if again depending on the age group which is going to read it. If it's going to be slightly seniors, then we have to use a suitable font which is easy on their eye. If it's going to be for children book, we have to use a different kind of lettering. So all these factors go into that. Cover is always decided based on the subject, the whole thing. It should in one way kind of convey what the whole book is about, but not reveal too much. So that kind of, it should be intriguing. It should attract the attention. Of course, if it's going to be kept in a rack, it should grab the attention. That's the whole idea of every book. Everybody wants to grab the attention, but the book cover depends on the subject, basically what we do. And just touching upon the spell check and Grammarly, these things will help at the basic level, but definitely they are not able to replace a human mind yet, because they will go through, it cannot check the fact, it leaves out. So a third person, an editor who goes through that, who goes line by line. I have a few editors who are grammar Nazis. They agonize too much on commas and full stops and m dash, n dash, and other things. For certain things it is okay, but for it is not too much. But the editor has to, it is the job of the editor to see that there is no inconsistency and there is no factual error. That is the job of an editor. There are too many times when the author, it is by an oversight, writes a different name or puts a different year. And in a different place, when he refers to it, the year will be different. These are all the jobs of editor. A human intervention is definitely needed in this. If the book has to be reasonably good, a human editor definitely is needed at this time. It has not been able to be, we are not able to replace the human intervention at this time.
How do you decide on the price, one, and how do you decide a number of copies that will be published? And three, there's some books have hardbound, some are paperback, and some are Kindle edition. What is your philosophy?
The price is generally, see, if it is going to be sold in a bookstore or even in the online portals, if it's in a bookstore, generally the book stores take a 50% cut. That is a commission. Standard is 40 to 50% is what the bookstores take. So you have to, the thumb rule is that you should price it at least 3 times the printing cost. Minimum is 3 times the printing cost. So that after the 50% taken by the book seller, the publisher and the author get something in their hand. The whole process at the moment, it is only the bookseller who makes the money. They don't invest anything on this. They take your books, sell it, and then give you the money after 6 months or something. Even an online portal, they take about 25 to 30% is the cut taken by the online portals, whoever sell it. So the price, unless it is priced 3 times, a minimum of 3 times and up to 4 times, then only there is some kind of economical return. There is a return on this. Hardbound, it is we would suggest it only for a special book because it is very expensive. It has to really you have to justify the cost. For a fiction, you don't need a hardbound at all. So paperback is good enough for
You
that. But for a copy
publishes,
to
he publishes publish books out of passion or money making or both.
the the idea is to make money, but ultimately whether we make money or not is different. Doesn't happen. But there is definitely a passion. Like an author has a passion to write, the book publishers have to be passionate about what they do. And otherwise, the whole product will not come. There won't be a good effect in that.
I'll go back to Abhijit. I'll have the same question to all three of you. I mean, how did you launch your books? Because, I know of agencies just like, the ones who conduct wedding functions and, the wedding planner type who will do everything, including getting the audience, arranging the stage, releasing the book, promoting the book, and so on and so forth. Did you take help of any such agency to release your book? Book release is a very important thing. The world should know that you've written a book and it's available. Abhijit, what did you do?
I contacted Dr. Vidya. I used I used your platform basically to launch this book of mine. But otherwise, I have never in the past. I mean, I have written about 5 books till date. Basically, I don't write to be a bestseller or to sell my books at a profit. I just write because I feel good about writing. And I'm at the end of the day, I'm really not bothered whether my book sells or not. It's just that it satisfies me from within. So that's my whole idea. So once my book is published, it is there, and I just use the social media as best as I can.
So no agency is
No,
taken.
no, no, no. I don't.
Piyush, how did you release your books?
See, I did mention in the time I appeared in your program that my book is about to come and things like that. But that's not the thing. But I have had a few book releases, but I've, like book clubs and things like that, which are quite popular in the South. And these, I have never paid them.
Okay.
And they have contacted me because you are a freak show. You are a doctor writing a book. You're a freak. So they'll all want to see what exactly is this. So they called me, and some of my patients contact me. Why don't you read this book? And they all say it's the best book ever written in the world. So no, that's also there. So about the size of the book, I had an experience between the first and the second book. First was around 75,000 words. And the second one, when the regular publisher, the agent, it was I had written 120,000. He said, no, that's too much. You can't keep like that. You have to cut it down to 75, maximum 100, because that's the best size to sell, to market, and to packaging, and a lot of reasons. This is the thing. So I had a problem cutting down the size of the book, which is already finished. And I did it in a sort of a clever way. Without First thing was to kill one of the main characters, which is also not that easy. So I brought it down to around 110,000. But the correct size, they say, is around 80,000, which is easy to pack, market, the cost. Otherwise, it's around 700 pages. The book will be 600 rupees and very difficult to sell unless someone's really interested in buying a particular book in that subject. Otherwise, it's difficult.
So Sridhar said, did you release your book in some function or some big shot
Yeah,
released
yeah.
it?
Yeah, it so happened that, as I said, that it is the 75th independence anniversary. So there was an exhibition which was going on this 75th year of independence, on the history of independence, etc. In that function was supposed to be inaugurated by our governor. So the people who organized that exhibition and that event who are known to me. I told them that I have a book. Then they said, let's release it in that day. So it so happened that on that function, when he inaugurated the exhibition on the Swarna Mahotsav, on that day, he released the book. That's how. But I was not keen in actually making a profit out of this. I was more keen in propagating the ideals of the Tamil Nadu people who were responsible for, as a matter of fact, starting the independence movement way back, along with the Bombay, Maharashtrians, and Bengalis and Punjabis. But these four are never represented anywhere in your school book. You look at them, hardly you will find any of these states. Therefore, I thought that this must be brought to light. So that is one. So second thing I did was to convert it into Kindle edition also. Diwakar converted it for me. So Kindle edition is much cheaper and they can buy, because most of the youngsters buy more Kindle rather than the hard copy. The third thing I did was I just put it in Facebook, that blog corner and also the book. So I thought it may reach beyond the shores of Tamil Nadu about those who have sacrificed so much for us. That's how I did it.
Diwakar, what is your take on this? Do you think books should be released very ceremoniously? You need to spend some money on that. You book a hotel and get some authors and there's some book reading and so on. Doesn't it help the publisher also?
Strictly commercially, it doesn't help, sir, because these things cost money and you don't make too much money in selling books. So right now what happens is you combine it some occasional, as Dr. Sridhar has done. It was released by the governor, Ravi, during the function. So there was a contextual, that had a context. Otherwise, it's best to combine it with a book club meeting or one of the events and then bring it just to, if the author is or the publisher is willing to splurge money on this, because anything costs money. It has to be, you have to take the money back from the sale of books, which at this time the print orders are not that much. There are so many books available, so you can't expect millions of or tens of thousands of books to be sold like Amish or Chetan Bhagat's books. These will sell in reasonable small quantities. Nobody loses money, but if you're going to spend money on publicizing and giving a press advertisement, you don't make money. It doesn't justify the cost. So the best way is to use the social media to popularize the whole thing. Maybe a little bit of advertisement in Facebook or Instagram, a small amount, you set a budget and then do it. That is the best way to popularize it. Best way is again to shamelessly talk about our book. In wherever you go, I've written a book, it's a nice book. You just try to do that. It's not with the idea of making money, not with the idea of money. Making money is not the bad thing. But the whole idea of writing a book is that it should be known to people, it should reach people. That is the whole idea.
This print on demand, I would like to add here, the print on demand has changed a lot. I think that is something which is really useful.
It has really democratized the whole. You don't have to spend a lot of money to print a book. Earlier, there was a minimum print order of 1,000 copies or 2,000 copies for the economy of scale, like to bring the unit cost down. But now, spending as low as some 20,000-30,000 rupees, you can bring out a book, see how it goes. Once the copies are getting sold, then you print more. There is no minimum order quantity. People print. I have printed for some authors, even 24 copies we print and give. There is an order. They take an order, we print and then give them. So you don't have to. It's very painful to see stacks of books stocked in your room, waiting to be sold. So you don't need to stock money.
Yeah, my final round of questions, again, may I cross the time so much. Dr. Abhijit, can you just talk in 2-3 sentences about each of your books and what is the thread? I've seen, you presented me that does the moon exist, and then about the book you wrote about the lost superfoods and so on. Can you talk about what are the content of your books?
So, as I said before, I basically try to link the ancient knowledge with the current lifestyle of patients, trying to deal with suffering and meaning making and provision of hope. So, this is the common theme in all of my books. I address suffering and I try to correlate it with the ancient knowledge of our rishis and gurus, and again bring in modern science to give it a sense of reasonability and the way forward, that is providing hope. So this is my common theme in
In one of your books, you said that every human is a hero.
yeah,
What does
for
that
thou
mean?
art a hero.
Yeah.
So because uh, you are your own hero, because your own struggles are unique for you, and only you can judge it to the best of your ability. So you need to learn to love yourself first. So the art of learning to love yourself is the only art which will help you transcend this world of suffering and bring about a sense of meaning in every work that you do. So this is how I see it.
Yours is a fiction, but quite often fiction comes from facts. At least a part of the story you've written, you must have seen or experienced. Is it completely imaginary?
It is, I would say it's around 90% I've seen. I've met similar characters. Uh, but these are the characters many of us will not notice standing by the roadside or anything like that. So most of them are, someone, even now, some people tell me, hey, I read your book and that girl looks exactly that person I saw, that way. But I know sometimes who I'm writing about, but it is fiction, but a fiction which is laced with facts. There won't be any total wrong ideas. And I have been through these areas where it's actually jungle country, and the things that happen there does happen very much, like especially since the people outside Kerala and Tamil Nadu started coming down to work here, the whole thing has changed. If you drive through Kerala, you will be more confident speaking in Hindi, because all those fellows who work in restaurants speak Hindi. So that's how the first book came up, placard holder in the past. It's about a itinerant worker from the north who comes and she holds a placard on the in the pass, so that saying meals available. You see that everywhere in Kerala. And now I think Kerala cannot function with those guys, without those guys. So they played a big role. I talked to them, and again, being multilingual, it's very fascinating to see their fascination when someone speaks in Hindi to them, who they think will not know Hindi. So that way, they are. It's I've met most of them. Most of them, if you read the book, there are very strange people I've met and who are in the book. So it's all,
So that it is situated in the present era, not colonial
no,
period or whatever.
no. It's
Some
situated
names
in,
sound colonial.
no, yes, it's situated in the present era, but many of these passes, the routes were actually made 1800s by the British and things like that. And those words and names have stuck. Even
Uh,
now, Palakkad Pass is known as the Palakkad Gap. That's the gap between the two hills, the north and the south, which divides Anamalai and Nilgiris. So there's a lot of British influence amongst these plantations and things like that, because they have been there for a long time, and slowly they're all disintegrating and being taken away by the, quite a bit is taken away by the government. And the whole thing is changing because there were vast areas, 2,500 acres, those type of areas. And it does. There is a huge colonial English background to this, which I have read a lot about to find out what exactly how they were living and how they are living now, even though you got freedom. But it's changed quite a bit.
Thank you. Sridhar sir, I've seen that there are so many individuals featured in your book, and some of them may not be available on the internet. Did you go to libraries, or did you
Yeah.
meet some descendants of those people, talk to them? Did you do any active research before you
Yeah,
wrote that
I
book?
think actually I did a lot of research on this. I first wrote down the names. And then as I started searching, I added more. Then I started removing names. Like, for example, I have removed Rajaji. I removed Kamaraj. I removed Bhaktavatsalam. I removed Venkatraman. I removed C. Subramanyam. I removed Bharatiyar. So because I thought already people beyond these borders know them. So I was just looking for people who contributed almost equally or even more, but who are not even known. So I stuck off like that and then started working on that. If you ask me frankly, you very rarely find a Kerala Christian in your independence movement, which is depicted very well in history of school books. But the amount of contribution they have done is phenomenal. There are many. So as a matter of fact, I have many which are in the waiting list to be written. Some of them are again women who have never been portrayed well. Some of them, one whom I have mentioned here, Anjalai, she has gone twice in Salt Satyagraha into prison. She has done much more than anybody else, but she has never been known outside world. She is the only person who has been twice imprisoned for the same Satyagraha, Salt Satyagraha, for example. So these are the things which I thought. And she was pregnant nearly 9 months when she was arrested and put back in the jail. She came on parole, delivered the child, and on the 11th day went back to jail to complete the parole. So these are the people whom I feel that must be known to others. So that's how the whole thing was based on that. And I wrote many on the women. At least out of the 20, I have written about 5 women out of the 20. I think 20% reservation I gave it for at least for women in that. I think they deserve much more because it was very difficult for them to fight not only the independence, for independence, also the cultural aspect, their families, everything, they came out and then fought. So I think we may have to write a book on the women in independence struggle, but not the later ones whom you know already, who have been highlighted like Sarojini Devi and Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi was never in the picture. Such people have been highlighted, but not the others.
So there'll be sequel to your book because there will be
I
many
don't
more
know.
still.
As I told you in the beginning itself, I'm a comparatively lazy guy. I must get the mood to start writing. I don't know whether I'll do it, but I have enough people who are, for example, I must say this, Ambedkar, everybody knows, the person who built the constitution. But the one who wrote the majority of that constitution was Alladi Krishnaswamy. Hardly very few people know who is Alladi Krishnaswamy. Even he himself has given in the preamble, even though I am the chairman, Ambedkar has written, but majority has been constituted by stalwarts like Alladi, but for whom this constitution would never exist. But you go and ask 100 people, not even one person will tell who is Alladi. So that's how it is. So I thought that it is time that we also recognize those people. So our freedom is fought by people who are unknown and not those who are known. That is my
Now, one little thing here, sir, because when I was having similar ideas about history of Indian personnel, but most history is written by British people, and they don't write anything good about any of the people you mentioned here. It will not be available in their volumes that have been written in the past. You have to find out from their families and friends as to what exactly is the truth.
I interviewed 4 families, as a matter of fact, out of these. Their descendants, I talked to them, and then also recorded their versions on this. And ultimately, you will be surprised to know one of them was my own family who belongs to. I never knew the details about him. I myself, so I have to contact some of my cousins, etc., to find out how exactly what he was doing, etc. So it's like that. I interviewed many, and also the search was a very difficult search. In the sense, there are some who have contributed a lot, who are being mentioned in others' writing. Like, for example, Bharatiyar has written about so many people. But you go to them, you hardly find one paragraph. Not even that. That is where I got stuck with many. Many. I don't find anything, either written paperbacks, books, or even magazines, journals. None of them have mentioned them. So I may have to drop some of them because I can't write more than one paragraph on them. It's really sad that such people who have devoted their life are forgotten. One more point I would like to make here, sorry to have prolonged it. The thing is, majority of them died between 40 and 60. Most of them. By that time, they have traveled all over the country, even abroad, with facilities which are not available like today. Traveling in ship, traveling in train, traveling in bullock cart, within that 45 to 50 years of their age. And they have published so many books, written so many things other than their independence movement. I was wondering how they could ever do this. Only way they could do it is sacrificing their personal and family life and dedicating their life for this country. Otherwise, it would never have been possible. Most of them died 45, 50. I was wondering how I can't travel even today that much what they have traveled.
Thank you, sir. Now, before concluding, I'll ask Mr. Diwakar to give 5 tips for budding writers as to how to write or how to compile and how to approach a publisher.
Starting with writing, as I said, everybody has got a story, everybody has got an idea. You just have to start putting it, even if it could be 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, even 1,000 words, you start putting it. Make it a point, focus, bring it a discipline to that and start putting it into either it is a mobile or even the computer. You start typing it out. Slowly build up your speed. Set a time for it. It could be a morning person, it could be a night person, whatever suits you. There is no hard and fast in it. The only way is to keep persisting on it. That is the only way you can finish. Like in any other vocation, unless we persist, we'll not be able to bring it out to that. You can always show it to your family members if you are comfortable with that. Show them, get their opinion, then fine tune it. Once a stage comes in, you should approach the publisher. There are many, like me, there are a lot of people who can help them bring out the books, who can fulfill their dreams and bring out the books. At that stage, we will be able to guide them, help them get professional help in editing or layout design. Everything can be taken care by us, and we will help them bring out the book and even market it, selling it through the online portals like Amazon, Flipkart, and Kindle, convert it to Kindle and then put it and do that. So that is the best way to, only way is to bring some discipline into it and keep writing and it. And of course, to be a good writer, you should be a good reader. That will definitely be there.
Thank
I
you.
have one
Thank you, sir.
question to Diwakar. Now,
Yeah.
I do find something like direct to Kindle and directly to, what is that?
You can put Kindle allows you to upload your Word document directly and convert it into an EPUB format. But the flip side of that, it will not have any formatting, it will not have any special things. So it will be just like a plain text, reading a plain text like without anything. If you're going to have photographs into it, it may not appear the way you want it or you seeing it in your computer. It's got a lot of restrictions in that, but it's definitely, if it's a text-based, text-heavy document, you want to convert it to Kindle, you don't have to know, you don't have to learn about coding and then converting it to EPUB. You can simply upload it, Kindle takes care of it and converts into an EPUB format.
The next one, I would like to, again, one more clarification. Sorry, Radha. The point is, now I just write a page and then put it on Chat GPT and then say refine it. It does refine it. How do you think that it's going to change the way in which we write?
If I can add to that, sir, Ravi Shankar asked a question that AI can write a novel. How will you make out with the AI written or a human written?
There are tools to do that, because there are certain keywords. There are like a plagiarism, how they check and pick out the plagiarism when you write a technical paper. There are tools with professional publishers. They have at the high level, the professional legacy publishers, they have tools to weed out such AI generated content. If you most of the time, if you're going to post a photograph into Facebook or anything, it is able to identify that it is AI generated. X can identify it's an AI generated image. So as AI improves, there are tools to even weed it out. Not that AI should not write anything, but it is not the human generated content. That is what they want to. It's an informed choice. The reader should know that it is human generated or AI generated. So you cannot pass it without surreptitiously. You can't pass it. That is why there are tools to identify it. They have enough tools to identify that.
Vidya, back to you. We have 12 more minutes for the
Yeah,
audience
no,
questions.
Dr. Menon has written, is writing therapeutic for any of the speakers? I have read that some writers have a compulsion to write to bring out into the world something that festers inside them. I mean, parts of it you have already addressed, but is writing therapeutic? Abhijit, maybe you can go first.
I won't call it therapeutic, but what I feel is that in my writings, basically, it's about, as I said, existential needs, addressing suffering, and so on, meaning making, and so on and so forth. So, and I write when I feel like writing. And I won't say that it becomes therapeutic for me. It's just that it's quite a whimsical thing for me, and I can strongly correlate with the other authors. Dr. Sridhar, in fact, as he said that he is quite lazy, and I can very strongly correlate with him, because that comes naturally to both of us. I feel that even he also writes when he feels like it. So I don't think there is anything therapeutic about it. It's a sort of passion which brims up at times. That's how I look at it.
So Akila wanted to know whether writers share their books with, since you're all doctors, do you share your book with your patients? Books with your patients?
Even donate.
I don't. Normally, I have not. So far, I have not done it. I have not shared with my patients so far.
Peeyush?
It's only my colleagues I have.
I
Yeah, my
I
colleagues.
sell my books to my patients. Very simple. No donation. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
So all of you have said that you just type whenever you feel like writing, but Ravi has asked, do any of you use voice recognition software, like you just record a memo and then it just types it out rather than sitting and typing it? Do any of you do that? That was Ravi's question.
I don't. I've never used it.
I don't.
Actually, I do that because my typing speed is very, very slow. Because of that, I use it. And then it cuts down time. There's no doubt about it.
So you mentioned about how you bumped off a character just to reduce your book. So Basumati says, as a doctor, it must have been even more difficult to kill someone.
Yes,
I mean, that is
it
just
is.
in jest.
To kill a doctor, Vidya.
Especially, you get very close to your characters, no? When my first book, I still remember my characters, and they are quite close to you, and suddenly arrange a truck crash on the highway or something like that. So it doesn't work like that. But I had a lot of trouble culling it down, but at the same time trying to keep the pace and the flow. So it's not easy, but now I know that my third book actually is finished. 80,000 words are over. So I'm at the fag end, and I'm trying to finish it in the the correct time, and not carry on.
Yes, so Gitanjali, Dr. Sridhar Gitanjali is looking forward to your book on women in the freedom struggle. And of course, everybody is asking where to get your book. So I just answered on your behalf that they are all available on
Amazon.
Amazon.
So yeah, so that's. I don't see any other questions. If Basmati, you have your camera on, did you want to say something?
Just generally that I enjoyed listening to all of them. Nothing specific.
Kaveri,
No,
you have your camera on. Did you want to say something?
Now, if I may ask the authors, whenever you visit a bookshop, do you look for your books and you find them, you feel good, feel happy?
I have never found any of my books in bookshops.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
It's called endorphin release. You write a page, next day morning you read it, and you still think it is good. Then you get a endorphin surge, and you just lie back and take a deep breath and feel good. So that's an endorphin surge. But I don't look at if it's there. As Diwakar said, it's a hell of a job getting it onto the thing. A lot of people who go to airports put it on the airport booksellers shelf, take a photo and put it up. There's no point. That's how it works sometimes.
Now, Ms. Diwakar, how to get your book released in a book festival? Because, the Jaipur festival or Bangalore festival, which I regularly attend, I see that big shots release their book and then the book signing and all that. How to grow to that level, or you need to use influence to be there sitting on the stage discussing your book? How do you
Only
get
by
there?
influence. Only influence and connections, sir. That's the only way it works.
What is that?
Only by
Really?
connections. Yeah, absolutely. Only by connections. You should be known to the organizer. You should have a quid pro quo, or you should have something they should be indebted to you to get that done. Or you should be willing to spend money on it, sponsor an event. Then you can get yourself into the stage there.
So,
Otherwise, you should be really very, very popular author.
okay.
The publishing houses may be doing that sometimes, right, Mr. Diwakar?
Even the publishing houses to promote your work, they should have it's actually quid pro quo. They should have an incentive to promote your work. Only then.
How do you get your book review done in a magazine or a newspaper? Is that also something to do with paying money or influence, or is
Uh,
there a way to do it?
Getting reviews done in newspapers or magazine is becoming difficult because they are simply receiving too many books. They are not even opening the packets of books they receive. I have seen that in the newspapers. They simply are not able to cope with the flood of books that are coming to them. So the best way to get is to get into the book clubs that one way. And there are many online ones like Goodreads or Senior Reading Raccoons or reading sessions. There are a lot of groups who have reading sessions. Get into that, then spread the word, take it to the next level. Now it is becoming increasingly difficult for small timers to get the reviews published. It's not the question of money. There is absolutely no space in newspapers or magazines to write. There are so many books.
Can I just put a bit on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, my publisher is and the agent are in Delhi. Now, I get a lot of mysterious calls. We'll put 25,000 likes for your book. Then they will tell you the catch after that, that you'll have to pay, some 5,000 for this. So I didn't fall for it. But then there's another group who will guarantee you publication in a review publication in a magazine or whatever it is, Outlook or something like that. But it will be, in Navbharat Times in Chandigarh. What's the point me having a book reviewed in a place like Chandigarh? So, it's all this. Diwakar said there's no doubt about it. It's money. It's a big role in that, and there are a lot of people who are very keen on publicizing, not caring about the monies and things. And then I've got in Bangalore festival. Someone asked me whether I want my book to be reviewed or edited. I said, yeah, fine. Then she said, I should be specify. She said that it will cost you 1 lakh. Then I said, what about the publication bit? He said that we will decide later whether it's worth publication, but this is the money required. So, there are a lot of people who really don't care actually where the money comes, or, they just don't care. Whereas we are, after all, hardworking doctors.
Uh,
So
we, uh,
Piyush had the thing of, I'm sure, like Suma, there may be many others who have their own blogs, and also when your friends read your book, they write a review that carries actually as much weight, at least among their set of readers. And
That's very true. Very true, no? That's very true that, and it's very gratifying that someone has written about your book. Some people who you know, or some people who you never met in your life, and they say that it's good. It gives, as I said, endorphin release.
so is this an alternative career for you, Piyush?
No, see, I'm actually in the process of making a big pain clinic in Coimbatore, which is a state of the art uh, setup, and I am busy with that. But as you all know, I don't have to go and you know because a DU perf has landed up. That makes a big. It takes a lot out of you. So, and now driving through these roads is become crazy. So it's not an alternative thing, but the more books you write, one day something will hit. So I'm still hoping on that.
Can I say something? Vidya?
yeah, go ahead.
Uh, Thank you. It's a wonderful episode that I saw today. I got introduced to Dr. Sridhar Krishnamurthy. I have not read any of his books. Shall read more. And very great that he has written about unknown souls who were breaked. And Dr. Peeyush, I'm waiting for your third book. Regarding publishing, Dr. Diwakar, unless you pay me a big royalty, I have a lot of blogs. I do write. I got the National Best Medical Essay Award way back in 1985. Writing has been in our family. And I want to say self-publication is even more better. It's less costlier for us. We have done it in the family. But once the volume is big, we give it to private. And the private publishers definitely made more money than the writer.
That's always the case.
Subramanya Shivam, when he sold his royalty, I don't want to mention the private publisher, You will know it from his books. He made more money than my brother. I have been writing and I've been giving it only for the change. See, I feel what you write should bring some change in others, be it in the society or self. And as somebody asked whether writing is therapeutic, definitely it is therapeutic to me. I don't know how much it is to the others. I share with my patients too, and I gain a lot of information to write from my patients, be it on illness or otherwise. I get a lot of information from the lower strata of people in the society, and I do write a lot of blogs regarding it. You can see it in my Facebook. And if you're going to pay me a lot of royalty, then I'll sell it to you, Dr. Diwakar. Wonderful, wonderful episode.
Yeah. So on that note, we'll have closing comments from everyone. Sridhar sir.
No, I couldn't hear you.
Closing comments you want
closing
from us.
Oh, closing comments. I think Diwakar is the right person who has put it rightly. I think it is more of money now, it is coming on publishing and other things. I think he is the right person, I feel, who never bothered about the money part of it. And then he told me how many copies you want, and whichever way I can help you. I think that way he has actually modified a lot of things in my book, including the formatting and the cover. I think I must give due credit to him for that. I think the closing remark should be to thank him again for guiding me in this endeavor. I think that is the one. And I think blog is a more comfortable thing to write. And then converting it into book, I think I'll go back again to Diwakar.
Yeah, you, Peeyush.
Yeah, I'll keep writing. It gives me quite a bit of pleasure, and you learn also lots. You learn a lot of things of Kerala culture, lot of things, even though you can't read. But as now everything is translated, the movies, etc. So I've learned a lot in this period during writing this book. And the third one will be see the light of day end of the year, and then we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, best of luck for that, Peeyush. Abhijit.
Yeah, the more I travel, the more I write. So that goes hand in hand, and that's a way of that's a way that adds flavor to what I do. So that's a way of
No, but in
you
addition
know
to the spiritual part of it, you have a thing for good food and
Yeah,
tasty
because
dishes.
the more you travel, the more you can explore different cuisines, and that's how I link food with spirituality. Because a well-crafted meal can bring back old memories. Help you go back in time. It can be a source of healing as well. The flavors of food, the taste of food, and what it does to you and your mood. And the way the food is crafted, with what intention a food is crafted, would also influence its taste. So there are so many other things to food as well. So, but travel is a beautiful way of, helping a writer write better.
Yeah, Mr. Diwakar.
I would only exhort everyone to write more and more and more, because our life is actually molded by experiences, and you have the greatest privilege of experience. I mean, interacting with so many different set of people. Everybody has got, whether it's a case or whether you talk to them, they come and open about their problems or even achievements of their family. All these can trigger. Just looking around us, we can get stories. So it is a good way of challenging yourself, also pushing you out of the comfort zone if you need that. So start experimenting with blogs, and then you can always graduate to books. There are enough people to help you realize your dream and make it come happen. So Yes, please do write.
So a call to all you bloggers is start thinking of writing books.
Vidya, one sentence.
Sure, sure.
I wanted to tell Abhijit, I have a character in my second book who is a fish lover. And he goes to different places just to eat that particular fish. And I did a lot of research on that, and that bit definitely Abhijit will like.
He'll
Very,
probably recognize every fish in every place.
No,
that's very
yes.
fishy.
No, the thing is, you cook certain fish in a particular style, and that is the same for that particular fish. So that's very common to Kerala and
Bengal.
Bengal. So
Okay.
I've got a character. I just made it because of my knowledge about fish. So I made a character to put my knowledge across through him.
Great.
Yeah. So the sometimes the characters made for telling some part of the story and sometimes of course you are bumping off to shorten the book. So thank you everybody. I must especially thank Dr. Sridhar because originally I just reached out to him to talk about his book and because I thought maybe we'll it not only about writing but also about the unsung heroes of freedom fighters and but he in his modesty and generosity said no, you can't be talking about just my book for a whole hour. You get some more people. And then he came up with this brilliant idea of getting Diwakar also on board because most of us will be, may even know something about writing, but definitely we won't know about how to get one's work out there so that others can read. I mean, Abhijit says he doesn't care, but then I thought most people will forget about money, but if you write, you want someone to read it, right? So if it has to be read, it has to reach the person who's going to read. So thank you all of you, and everyone has enjoyed the session. I've seen all the comments on the chat box. So we'll every last Thursday of the month we try and do this offbeat stuff of doctors doing stuff other than medicine. So next week will be a regular Marvelous Medicine session, but again, the last Thursday of August, we'll again have something special for you. So we'll meet again next week with another episode of Marvelous Medicine. Till then, take care and stay safe. Thank you all.